this covert effect, right? Which is now being kind of just poured out upon us in the moment, right? So mind you, okay, you can have a degree and you can have even the experience, or you can have one or the other. You can have them both or one or the other, but you're still running up against this.
You're still not getting a job.
Still not getting a job, even though they say they're hiring, and even though they have 5 postings about it.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Deep MCs, the podcast that seeks to push meaningful conversation to a whole new level. Whether it's for your entertainment or your personal growth, we appreciate you being here today. And now, on to the show. What's going on, man?
Yo, yo, yo.
We are here.
That was your singing voice?
Yeah, we are here. One more time.
Yo, I'm still waiting on Shepard to drop some bars, man. We're going to get it one day.
Sooner or later.
We're going to get some bars, man.
I will. What are we getting into today?
We are talking today about degrees in business.
Degrees in business. Degrees in business.
Yeah.
Business and degrees.
Business and
Do
degrees.
you need degrees for business? That's kind of been I want to say a hot topic because it doesn't get top line news, but I have seen a lot more people writing about it. I've seen a lot of articles even on LinkedIn about degrees and the relevance of them when it pertains to a specific job. And I mean for me, I try to be as open-minded as possible. Ooh, it's a tooth whistle. That was terrible. I try to be as open-minded as possible. I apologize for everybody out there. Because I'm on the side of not having a degree at all. And I've also been shut down from jobs for not having, been passed over for not having a degree. Yeah. But I still try to be open-minded to it. I don't know if that's more so because I was part of that conditioning where you're supposed to go to school and you're supposed to do whatever, or if because I don't have one, so you always want what you don't have or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I really don't want one because I hate school, but I don't know, man. Our degree is important in business.
I mean, my thought process has changed, man. Now, and it's not a popular opinion, because I have a degree. I have two bachelor's degrees. Yeah, the S is on one of them. Forget it.
I don't know.
And my 2 degrees didn't tell me where to put the S. So nevertheless, I have 2 degrees. One is in architecture, and that's the one. I went 5 years. It was a 5-year program. Got my degree. Moved to Houston, and what I found is that the particular degree that I had didn't have a concentration in enough technical experience. And so what I had to find is I had to then, if I was going to get a job in my field that I had studied 5 years for, that I had dreamed about all my life, that I had started with Legos, back in the day, I want to be this architect, If I was going to get a job, then I was going to have to go back to school and get additional training in AutoCAD. And so I was going to have to go to a technical school, enroll in a technical school, get the AutoCAD training, and then come back to apply at these firms, right? Because my degree didn't have enough technical experience in it.
That's crazy.
And so I ended up applying, which is how I met this dude. So I guess it was on purpose. But
it's supposed to happen.
It was supposed to happen. I ended up applying at IKEA, Home Furnishings, right? And I applied there because I was in Houston just making bills at this point. Because I wasn't moving back home. And I just needed some money. So I applied as a cashier and as a carts guy. No, warehouse. And they looked at my resume. I had submitted my portfolio too. And they were like, hey, we have this open position in our communications and our decorations department is what it was at that point. Deco is what it was called. Our decorations department. And I was like, okay, whatever.
Why not? Because they saw that I could draft, and they were doing some drafting in it. So it made sense. Right. I mean, 15 years after that, I was still there, and it had made an excellent career for me. But what I went to school for, what I really wanted to be, is still on the table, like today. Right. And my degree helped me get a retail position. I was like, really? Damn. right, damn. No, I mean, and that's rough, man. And it just sucks. And I do see it. I see a lot of people that, and I think that's ends up being the case, is a lot of people, the degrees that they have don't allow them to get to the jobs. They don't end up working the jobs that they want. Yeah. When they get the degrees that they have. Yeah. You know, and that it's frustrating. And I'm frustrated for a lot of those people, because you see it, like some of them just look so defeated, you know. Like I went to school for 4 years, for 5 years, for 6 years, and I'm here cashiering at I'm running a register at whatever, you know. This is not what it's supposed to be. And on top of that, I have an ungodly amount of student loan debt that I have to pay, you know. And that is frustrating, you know, and I feel bad for him. But then, like, it's like, shit, man, like there's so many things that I would love to do that I can't do, or I'm not allowed to do, because I don't have a piece of paper saying I went to school.
I understand.
And that, like, God, that drives me nuts personally too, because there's so many things that I don't think they need, like, you know, like we talk about, you know, when we met on the job, you know, I mean, that was example. I mean, everybody's ever been in the store, but like that's a warehouse environment, a partial warehouse environment, right? Like being there and being as many years that I was in that store, like I know how to locate bins. I know how to plan a bin. I know how, you know, workflow, whatever, you know, even they're setting up their click and collect and the way that things should go. Like I've done all of that shit, right?
For a Fortune 500 company.
For a Fortune 500 company. And I've done it all. Right. And then I have in the past, like I applied to a warehouse. Well, do you have a bachelor's degree in logistics? For what? Literally the description is put shit in a bay. do you not understand that I have been putting shit in a bay for 6 years?
Right. Successfully for 6 years. I've used all your forklifts, your pallet jacks, your whatever, and you're gonna tell me that I can't tell people how to put shit in a bay because I don't have a logistics degree? Right. I don't have a degree that tells me how to put shit in a bay. Like that drives me up the wall, you know. And I've always been a believer that you can teach anybody a job, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, you know. Even if we're talking warehouses, you can have Amazon warehouse, and you can have, I don't know who else is, Walmart warehouse, right? And they carry the same products. And if I go from Amazon to Walmart, guess what? They're going to have to teach me Walmart's way of doing things. It's a different way of doing it. You know, and it's vice versa. And so it doesn't matter. You're still going to have to show me the job. So I have 3 different kind of genres, completely unrelated. I have architecture. I have a bachelor's degree of Christian leadership, a leadership degree, and then I also have a real estate license, right? And I had to study for each one of those things. After the study, after I got the certificate or the degree or whatever it was, I still had to do some application on the backside of that really had nothing to do with what I learned.
With what you learned at all.
In either one of them, right? And so, yes, it was the paper that I received just to make it authentic. But at the end of the day, I still had to come and learn how to operate over here, operate here, and operate here. And all of them have just been life's journey that has taught me those things.
Exactly. And that's what I don't understand. Like, they always tell me, and I'm terrible. And I get there's a certain level to where you need deeper educational background. Like, I will not take that away from
No, we're not
anybody,
negating
right?
that.
Not at all, right? Like, if you, I would prefer, if I have to have heart surgery, that
they finished
that they finish.
I don't really even want the resident.
No, I want the actual son.
Yeah.
I don't want you that just shaking hands and just got out. This is your first surgery. Oh shit, let me die, please. Because I don't want to live with the aftermath of what's going to happen, But I would prefer that, and that's fine. And I think that those things are where it's at. But there are things where, even as you go through, and maybe that's just what was preached to us. But like, even when I was like in high school, and you go to geometry, right? And they're like, algebra, you're gonna use this.
Yeah, right.
You need to learn this because you're gonna use this in whatever. And maybe it's just the way that my mind works, but I've never been like, all right, I need to cut whatever piece of wood. I don't need to find the circumference of what. I'm gonna get a tape measure. I'm saying it needs to go in this space. Right. Even if I can't read the numbers, I know it's this wide. I'm gonna put it on the board.
And measure
it's
that
this
wide.
Yeah. Here's my line, and I'm gonna cut it.
You can do that with a piece of string.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't need all this advanced whatever. And I was even looking at. Like, I like to look at jobs regularly anyway. Even when I'm working, I still look. You always want to look for what's next, And I was looking one time, and there was a job that was talking about. It was for like a concrete company.
Okay.
Right. And they were basically saying, hey, we need leaders, who have had X amount of management. I want to say it's like 5 years or 6 years of management experience, which is fine. I think that everybody. It's hard to manage people.
Yeah.
Not everybody can manage people.
Right.
Not everybody can manage managers. That's even harder.
Yeah,
because,
that's even harder. Right.
Whatever the situation is. But they're like, you need to have like 5 years or 6 years of management experience, whatever it was. And you have to be able to learn rapidly. You have to have, an interest in, because it was for, I don't know, transportation and building, construction, whatever, and all this other stuff that they're asked for. Basic stuff. And they're like, we're going to teach you how to do the job. We're going to teach you all about concrete. We're going to teach you this. We're going to teach you that. And they were just listing all the things that they're going to teach. They're going to teach you how to do the job.
Yeah,
they were an emergency need.
Okay.
We need you right now. Can you do this,
and we'll show you everything.
And we'll show you everything you need to do. And then at the bottom, bachelor's degree required. So I'm and I'm like, why is that a qualifier? And you see more now changes to where people will say like bachelor's degree or X amount of relevant experience, right? But relevant is
it's relative.
It's relative, exactly. It's relative to whoever. But the thing that just drives me crazy is that there's no rhyme or reason. Like, what? I guess my question would be, at what point did a degree come into play as a need for a job? And then at what point did the degree requirement change?
So you asking me that, I had a kind of reflection back to a conversation I had with my dad. I believe the degree requirement was a cultural thing at some point, right? Because I remember having a conversation with my dad, who's 30 years older than me, right? And he had a bachelor's degree from Southern University and had to go to Michigan State, which was, he went to Michigan State to get his master's degree, right?
Right.
And he had to have both of them in order to compete with the same guy who had no degree but was white, right? In a government job, nonetheless.
Right.
So it was necessary for him to have to be over. It was necessary. He had to have it in order for him to get that job, because other than that, he was going to be cleaning toilets.
Right.
You know, smart as a whip, do whatever he needed to do. Clearly had his master's degree with a child and wife in tow and was able to get it done, right? And so here it is. He had to have both degrees in order to even be considered. Still came in underneath somebody and was never promoted to the top. In all of his tenure there, how many ever years? I think he spent 30 some odd years there. Never was promoted to the top. Yeah, he was comfortable, but never got the full ride, right? So I see in that instance where it was necessary. Now I look at me, and then I definitely look at my son, and I think the difference in that cultural movement is I want to set my son up to be in a place where financially he can choose. I want him to have the college experience,
right,
but not be forced into something that he doesn't necessarily feel like he wants to do, but that he feel like he has to do.
Right.
So if he wants to go, cool. If he doesn't, cool. But if you're not going, then clearly there's a business setup that you can operate in, or there's something that you can, you know. And then if you say you're working on these food trucks or whatever we decided we wanted to do,
right,
then you can decide, hey, I want to go get my business degree because now this applies to what I'm already doing.
Yeah.
As opposed to getting a business degree and then trying to jump out into the world
and just do
and find a job.
Yeah, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah, what am I going to do with that?
Yeah. No, and it's funny to say, it was weird because I think about it, when I think about it now, like when it comes to going to college and stuff like that, and, you know, with my mom, I mean, obviously pretty much raised, my mom was my everything, whatever, but there was no, our conversation about college was like, I'm trying to think of, we never really sat down. Sat down. It was more like, and it was, I don't know, like we could just be eating breakfast and just, hey, you think you want to go to college? Nah, all right.
And that was it.
And that was it, because I mean, she knew I hated school to begin with. You know, like she never really was like.
But I think that's important though.
The benefits. Yeah, I think it is, but at the same time, it also sucks, you know. And people was, oh, well, you can always go back and do it. Like maybe, but man, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I sucked at school. I hate the learning environment. I'm terrible in a learning environment. It's just not for me, and I don't want to do it. But it does, in this world, it does suck to know, like, I can have, I mean, shit, I've been working a full-time job now since I was, you know, 15, 16, whatever. I was working.
Hold on, you said that, but is it, would you be in a different mind? You're in a different mindset today though, right?
No, I still hate school. No.
But I mean, okay, so hating school is one thing, but the approach to it, would that be different today than it was then?
No.
It still wouldn't be?
No.
Okay, all right.
No, even more so now, because I hate spending money. So then if I have to spend money for, now if we had free education,
I understand.
Is a different story. I think it would be a different story.
Okay.
Right, because
so if in Texas they allowed you to go to a school of your choice in Texas
for free, I don't got to fill out no applications. I don't gotta get
okay, you're not going to school.
No grants. No. Right. Because I mean, like up until high school. Right. I mean, I guess your parent, I don't have kids, so I don't know right now, but I guess your parents handle enrollment. I don't know. All I know was school started on this day.
Yeah, I got you.
You showed up with your backpack.
Yep.
I usually showed up drunk, and then we would go to class and do whatever the hell we had to do. Right. And you just did whatever. And there was no like, oh, I got to pay for this class. Let me get this loan. Let me do this. Let me apply for this grant. I don't like that. I don't like that process. I don't like the learning environment, and I'd be even more pissed if I have to pay to listen to someone who doesn't have any life experience teach me about something that I already know.
I understand. I mean, I fully get that, right? Because now you're going backwards, right?
Yeah,
you're just doing it for, and that's the reason why I would like to say, you know, that hopefully it would be something you would need to further what you're doing, as opposed to going backwards just to get a piece of paper so that you can justify that now I have this experience and now I had a paper.
And I think that for me is the thing, is the need. what do you need? I think they sell us a lot of things that we don't need. Like I said, you go through all of this. You went through all of those classes all that time, and you still didn't have what you need.
Dude, I mean, and it's not even me bragging. I graduated cum laude, right?
Right.
I was literally at the
top.
I was the top graduate in my architectural class, right? I had all these stoles and all of this crap on, and I got to Houston and couldn't find a freaking job.
Couldn't find a job. But you had some great graduation pictures.
Excellent graduation pictures. I had a red stole. I had my fraternity one. I had an honor society one. I had like 5 things on. My neck was like
hunched over. Yeah.
Hunched over by the end of it.
Yeah.
It was a great experience, right? And 3 months later, I'm faced with reality in life, man.
It's a tough one, man. And it just sucks that I wonder if I question if it became the transition was more about weeding out what people would consider the lesser people in a way. And I guess what I mean by that is like a lot of times when you look, especially when you have the bigger businesses or the bigger companies or whatever that's out there, like when they look at that education section, even the name of that school gets you through another door. You could be the dumbest one in that school, but
we'll go to Harvard or Yale and
right.
MIT.
So I wonder if it became like a thing where in the beginning, like it was just a way to let people know you come from some money.
Yeah.
You're gonna bring something of value to you yourself are not of value, but your connections.
I mean, one of the things that I did fully understand when I was applying to schools, I got accepted to a school in Louisiana. I got accepted to 2 schools in Louisiana, and I also got accepted to 2 in Texas, and A&M was one of them. And knowing A&M's background, had I gone to A&M, I would have had an open door here in Texas.
To do whatever you wanted
to do. Whatever I wanted to do. But it was just that name recognition. I actually felt like I got a better degree for what I wanted in Louisiana. But when it came down to making the right decision, I guess, for my forward movement and what was necessary, I didn't have that cognitive idea. I should have gone to A&M.
Yeah,
especially coming to Texas.
Oh, for sure, 100%. I mean, Aggies stick together strong. But that's also, I guess, too, what kind of. I mean, I can appreciate it, but I also hate the fact that it was so. Excuse me. You take somebody, for instance, let's just take us for this scenario, right? Yeah. Excuse me. You're an Aggie and I'm an Aggie. We're both Aggies that went to A&M 10 years apart.
Yeah.
Don't even know. I don't know you from anybody. You might be a serial killer. I don't know. But you're an Aggie.
Yep.
And so I'm hooking you up.
Yep.
Like I can't stand. Like I appreciate
but
it
life
because
is relationships like that though.
It is, and there's a brotherhood or a sisterhood or whatever in that, and that's cool, and that's something that I think is good. But I just wish that we spread that throughout, right? Because especially now, and what drives me up the wall is that we talk so much. We do this crazy fight for diversity. This crazy fight for diversity, and we even have laws. You can't discriminate because of we know that they do, but you can't discriminate because of race, gender, blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't know the whole spiel, but nowhere in there is education. No, why is education not in there? So you can't discriminate because I'm black or female or transgender or male or whatever,
right?
But you can discriminate against me because I didn't go to school, because either I might not have had the money to go, or I might have had to work, or I had to, whatever the situation is. How is that fair? And how is it to say, for a job, if you're hiring for something as simple as, I don't know, a retail manager of a grocery store or or whatever, you're going to say that someone who's been doing management for 10, 12, 15 years without a degree is not as important as someone a new graduate who's never had a job, right? Who has a degree in aerobic dance that has nothing to do with the job at hand, but they have that piece of paper.
Yeah, right.
You know, because nowhere in there it's not you need a degree in this. It's just bachelor's required, associate's required. Doesn't matter what it's in.
Yeah, right.
You know, and I hate that, man. It's discrimination, but nobody says anything about that.
Man, you're honest. I mean, that's definitely true. It is another form of discrimination, and with the disparity gap in education, I mean, it's just another opportunity to be able to justify not hiring. You get around the other discriminations, yes,
right? You can get around that.
So if I have to consider this and this,
right?
But then this one, then I can always use that one as a scapegoat,
as an out to get you out of here,
right?
And that just kind of pisses me off, you know, and especially like I understand, you know, I know that there is something that you get by going to school. It does, for some, it does show a commitment or a sense of dedication or whatever it is. Like, I understand that. But then I also know a lot of people that did go to school. I know a lot of people with degrees that dumb is all just dumb.
Yeah.
I'm like,
the
man,
thing is though,
how?
bro, the thing is it's a degree doesn't tell you, you know, the degree doesn't say all you have is a yes or no,
right?
Pass or fail. It doesn't say that I barely passed
at all,
or that I had to take this class five times to get out of here. It doesn't say any of that.
It isn't that your 4 years bachelor's is really a 7.
A 7. It doesn't say any of that, right?
That you should be doctor, but you're not. You know? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't, and that too is another thing that this kind of gets under my skin about it, and it's just frustrating that you know, talking to, I mean, I'm not gonna say his name, but he knows who he is, but. Like, I was talking to him, and you know, he's working on his master's now, right? But he has his bachelor's from BYU, which is considered in finance, right? Or no, economics, finance. I don't know. I think it's finance. I think they're like one of the best finance schools that are out there, right? Uh-huh. And he was even telling me, he's like, man, I barely, my GPA was low, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because it's a prestigious school for that particular, you know, that type of degree, and that opens a lot of doors. But he wasn't anywhere near the top, and he admits to that. I mean, still extremely smart guy, and he's learned so much and a lot of his life experience and stuff like that. But it just goes to show, man, like you said, it doesn't matter what's on that piece of paper, you know. And I just think I wish that they give people the opportunity to know. Like, I know people, right, like they go to school, they spend 4 years to get this fancy degree and whatever it is, so they can get the 6-figure job, and all they do with the job is just stare at gauges.
Yeah.
You know?
So I mean, so on the flip side, because there's a, even in my family, there's a flip side to it, right? Because my mom and dad met in undergrad, right? My mom got pregnant in undergrad, so my mom didn't finish. Right, and I'm pregnant with my sister. Right, my dad finishes. They move off to Michigan. Mom is just a housewife at this point, and they move then back to Louisiana, do some stuff, and they get settled where they live currently now. And she ends up going into the mailroom of this building, right, and ends up having to work herself up through that to have a successful career. But then in turn, she always had an entrepreneurial idea.
Right.
and eventually retires from that when health wasn't well, so she was able to retire from that and then have a full-time business that was very successful for over 20 years, right? And so I look at that too, that sometimes I believe we cripple ourselves into believing that this is the only route that I can take because I did spend this time, I did put this energy in, I did spend this money, right? And that I should have to find something here when there was an entrepreneurial kind of idea that now affects me, even now, because I saw her be able to do it. So now when real estate came up, I was able to see it work in a different way. So let me try it, right? And so I think life's experiences can help us to let us know that it doesn't have to be a certain way.
And I think there's a backside to that backside though, too, right? All right. Is that your mom was she's a special breed, and she gave that to you, and you're a product of that, right? Because there is I believe that there are multiple avenues that people can go down besides school, but I think that it takes a very special person, and it takes a smart person. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how people measure intelligence to be able to still make that work, because and like I said, it does rub off on you, and you are a product and you see it, and so you get that knowledge that she has. I don't think that if she was anybody else, it could still have been a different story, right? Because I think that there are some people that I'm definitely like, dude, go get a degree, please, because you need.
It's a pool, man.
You need some help, bro.
It's a summer pool at the Y. There's a whole lot of people in that pool, man.
I'm like, dude, you need to go. So please,
why?
Do not.
Hold on, why?
Because some people just don't got it in them. Some people don't have, like, they think that they have the drive to be that entrepreneur.
So they're pursuing entrepreneurial endeavors.
Right, yes.
Okay.
And you think that you have, but you're not built for that. You're not built for the amount of time that it takes to put into that to be successful. You don't have the creative ideas to make it successful. You don't know how to pivot. You just have this thing like, I want to be this. Yeah. And you think it's just gonna happen, and it doesn't work that way. And like you need to just, because this ain't gonna work. It's clearly not working now. Go get your degree so you can have some stability.
Okay, all right. So are we contradicting ourselves though? Because you're saying to this person, go get the degree so you can have stability.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, it's a contradiction, yes, but also it's a valid point. Like, there are certain jobs out there that require deeper education. Yeah. There are certain jobs out there that require extra training. Yeah. Even if it's not a degree, like even technical or specialized, welding or whatever, right?
Right.
Like
on the job training specific to that.
There's things that you need that you can get to have that. And some people need that, right? It's the same thing like why some people go to the military, because it provides them with structure. Yep. There's some people that you just need to go get a degree so you can go somewhere and find a job that will take you with a bachelor's degree, because you're not going to make it in the world. You're not going to fly. You're pushed out the nest and you're not going to fly. And I do think that is a good thing. I guess for me, the main thing is that I don't feel that the degree is the end all be all to you can do a job.
I got you.
I would prefer, even for me, and coming from someone that doesn't have a degree at all, I think if it's not a very specific job, I think all jobs should be open. Maybe it should be open to everybody, and maybe there's a pay difference for the levels, right? Because someone with more experience, and usually on a job is paid
clearly
more.
Is
right. So let that be. I mean,
but just not hold it to the degree. Just remove that, and then degreed or not, experience or not, whatever it is, consider it all as one.
Consider it all as one, and maybe there's and I'm not trying to fix the world, right? But if you have experience and no degree, maybe you come in at whatever the pay is. And then if you have an associate's degree, maybe you make 5 to 10% more. And if you have a bachelor's degree, maybe you make 20 to 25% more. Like, to me, that's fair. You know, because you're giving everybody
gets
a shot,
an opportunity,
right? Because I mean, even then, a lot of times what you see is a lot of these people that excuse me, that have these degrees, you put them in this job, and even if it's the job that they think that they want, a lot of people, I don't want to say they get, I don't know what the word is, I don't want to say snooty, but they quit really fast because if I have a degree, I don't have to deal with this, right? So you cut off all these people that would really be grinding for you to make this work because this person is trying to live up to this thing, and they're trying to pay their student loans, and you're not giving them enough to do that, right? So even then, there's not even a balance in, you know, what you come out making. Like, you have your bachelor's degree and you have all this debt, you need to make a certain amount to cover that.
Right.
You're not going to get that usually on the job that the bachelor's degree is for, right?
Yeah.
But that job that the money you are making, that could help someone tremendously who doesn't have a degree, who could do the same job. You know, I don't know. Like, I just think that we're hurting each other all the way around, you know, by limiting the availability to get.
One of the things I appreciate about my first boss, when I moved from, actually it was my second boss, but I moved from a coworker to my first management position at IKEA. And so I moved from a visual merchandiser to the interior design manager. And I had no idea what the interior design manager really entailed. Interior design seemed foreign to me, right? And I'm a dude, so who's doing interior design? So, you know, but what my boss was telling me, he told me, he said, you have the leadership ability, apply the leadership ability, and then learn the rest.
Right.
Let the coworkers, let your coworkers teach you the rest, right? And so I had people who had been the people that I was going to manage had been in their positions for several years, which means they understood the small intricacies of that,
of the job.
The job. He said, all you need to do is bring leadership, which you understand, and then let them teach you the rest, right?
Right.
And honestly, that had nothing to do with my degree. But that was just really about my skill set, right? My ability to be available and be open.
Yeah.
And then, of course, having a manager who could see that and allow me to develop in that area. I think that's what we're missing today.
No,
you know,
for
we're
sure.
missing a lot of that, is that ability to be able to recognize that, yeah, what they do have is enough, and they can learn the rest on the fly. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what it is anyway. I mean, everything's always changing and rapidly evolving anyway. So, I mean, you know, even if you, and I guess that to me, that is the backside of the irritation too, right? Is that when it comes to a job, like you said, right, it's learning, you know, learning on the fly and doing these things, and you learn these other skills. But for whatever reason, when we look at degrees, there's no additional learning. So if we're looking at a job, let's say we're looking at interior design, right? Mm-hmm. Interior design in 2021, the tools that you use, the way you go about things, the programs and everything are not the same as interior design in 1971.
Nowhere close.
But that degree from 1971 still holds up equivalent to the degree in 2021. And how is that? That man or woman may not have learned a damn thing since 1971, but it's still held as being valid in
still a valid
2021.
Degree.
And how is that fair?
Yeah.
You know, so much has changed. Computers change, electronics change, science changes, everything.
Right.
But we don't care about that. We only care about you check this box, and you're good. It doesn't matter if it's relevant or if you even know how to do, you know, any of it.
Yeah.
And then even if you don't, we'll teach you.
We'll teach. Yeah. I got
you know, so why can't you teach the person with no degree?
Yeah.
You know.
I and then on top of that, man, we talked about it a little earlier. We have this COVID effect, right? which is now being kind of just poured out upon us in the moment, right? So mind you, okay, you can have a degree and you can have even the experience, or you can have one or the other. You can have them both or one or the other, but you're still running up against this.
You're still not getting a job.
Still not getting a job, even though they say they're hiring, and even though they have 5 postings about it over the last 5 months. Yeah, they've reposted it every month.
And it's in the news. Yeah, you know, jobless claims go up, and you still don't have. Yeah, and you still don't have.
They're still not hiring for what they say that they're looking for.
At all. I don't think they know what they're looking for, and I know part of that too. And I was reading an article about it, and I don't know how true it is, so please don't hold us to this, whatever, right? But they have qualifiers, and now everything is digital. Yeah, and they can set their requirements of what they're looking for,
your resume or whatever. Huh?
Yeah, and they set it so strict.
Got it.
Right, that it doesn't. If you miss one of those qualifiers, you automatically rejected.
Got it.
You know,
so nobody's even reading it.
Nobody's even reading it. It doesn't even get to somebody to look at. You know, so if they are looking for someone, and they can write whatever they want, you know, in the description, but on the backside they're saying someone needs to have this degree and this many years of experience, and they need to have this buzzword, and then whatever. And if those don't line up, straight to the trash.
So you sent in 6 resumes, the same exact resume.
Yeah.
Hey. And maybe you ought to try it, you know, and change up a couple words in it
and see what happens.
See if you can get a call back.
No, this is like it's like inserting the twerk into your video. It's science. It's science, man. It's science, you know. But it's true, and it's just, I don't know. And that's the thing too. And like we had kind of talked about before we started, that I do feel that there's more at play going on, especially when it comes to COVID, right? I mean, it doesn't make, for a large business, honestly, at this point, it doesn't make sense to hire anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to hire anybody, right? Like, I can blame my shitty service on COVID, and it's so easy to pass the buck, you know? If I go into a restaurant and I sit down and I get shitty service, and someone can just come over and be like, I don't know, I apologize, you know, it's just COVID, it's so hard to hire.
We haven't been able to hire.
You know, people don't want to come to work, right, and this and then all of a sudden you're not mad at them. You're like, oh, well, I understand.
You understand
it's COVID, right? Yeah. You know, and then they can just push the people that are working to the brink because they can. Right. You know, there's no reason to pay anybody any more money. I mean, like, raising the dollar amount, and there's, oh yeah, we're raising the dollar amount, we're $18 an hour, we're doing this, you know, we need so many people. Like, there's no incentive. They get more money on the back end by not having people. Oh, my business is suffering, but business is booming. People are making money. Yeah. You know, especially the ones that are catering to the work from home crowd. Like, right, there's never been more money coming in for them, and they just don't need, you know, I don't know, like, I just don't see a benefit in them hiring. But I think it's a time too where I think this is an opportunity to restructure for a lot of businesses financially. And I guess what I mean by that is the cost to have somebody, right? So we got to a point where, and this has always been like a weird, and I've always asked people this question too, like, what is the value of something? Why do we have such inflated values on things, right? And the example that I use, you know, like I say, okay, if this was 1906, right, and the job was, Aaron, you need to go in this in the backyard and dig 12 holes 3 feet wide, 3 feet deep. Right? In 1906, you're going to make, I don't know, 5 cents a day. And you're going to be digging through 3 feet wide, 3 feet deep, 12 holes. In 2021, if I say, Aaron, go in the backyard, I want you to dig 12 holes, 3 feet wide, 3 feet deep. That's going to cost me $35 an hour, right, to dig those holes. But now you have carbon fiber shovels and picks and lighter things and more efficient tools and gloves and this and that. The job is way easier now than it was then.
Right.
But it cost so much more now than it did then. Why? No one could tell me why. And everybody say, oh, well, this, that. No, bullshit. Because we know, like, even clothing, like you look at jeans. Jeans were made way better back then than they are today.
Better quality material.
But today, it costs way more to make them. It's still the same damn, made the same way since 1850. But the material is shittier and it costs me 100 times more. Yeah. Right? Yep. Why? You know, and so I think right now is a time where you've seen these people pre-COVID, this guy gets, or this girl gets 5%, 10% raise every year. And now they're making $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year to do a job that someone that makes $50,000 a year could do. Yeah. COVID is a perfect time to be like,
get rid of that 200,
get rid of that overhead, and bring in that 50,
and bring in that 50.
And I think that we're seeing that a lot. Like, why take?
And then I think you have people who are falling into a desperate place too, right?
Yeah,
and
for
who
sure.
are willing to take
less,
that less amount. Because my neighbor, right? He's doing the same thing. He's like, man, you know, everything's run out for me. Yeah. And so now I'm willing to do this to get in the door, that hopefully I can just have something to come in, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what you're seeing. Like if you look at your neighbor, man. I mean, I'm sure a well-educated person. Yeah. And pre-COVID probably commanded a very high dollar. Yep. But it's easy to get rid of you, and now you ain't worth. You think you're worth. Right. I'm gonna show you what.
I mean, it shows you real quick.
Right. Exactly.
You get humbled real quick.
Real fast. And I think that is, and I guess for me, maybe I'm glad. That's why I don't have a degree, because I never made any real money in legitimate business. So anything that's up for me is great, right? Like, I'm not worried about it. Like, this is what I'm used to making. But for a lot of people, that's it's a gut punch, you know, because you've gone your whole life thinking that this is my value and this is what this degree and that degree and this job is worth. Yeah. And that ain't the case anymore.
I mean, that's, I think, why you see depression is on the rise and all of those kind of things, and suicides and all of that stuff, man, because that I mean, it just shifts into your mental capacity to be able to hold on through those moments when you did everything you thought you were supposed to do. You went to school, you got good grades, or you didn't, but you got your degree.
You got your degree.
You know, you went to the right school and you moved to the right town. You married the right girl. I mean, all of those kind of things.
You got your corner office.
And now you at the house in the corner office. You know, going crazy because you can't, you're applying, but nobody's calling you back.
And nobody's calling you back. And I just think it's a perfect time for that. And I'm not, I don't want to be, like I said, I don't want to be a conspiracy theory guy, but I mean, it is a perfect time. You sent a lot of people home. You laid a lot of people off. You told people we're downsizing for now. We're doing all this, that, and the other because of COVID. Yeah. It's a great time,
And then make it look as if you're trying to hire back.
Yeah, we're trying. We're just this, that, and another. Yeah. Blase, and we're not, because I mean, who, at the end of the day, who's policing that?
Yeah, and there's no way to police that.
Like who's to say, and no one's speaking out about it. And
who's gonna hire? Honestly, who's hiring the $200,000 person back? Who's doing that?
Nobody.
Today.
Somebody stupid.
Who's doing that?
If they are, there's no reason to.
That's how we can raise the minimum up to $18 an hour. Is because we got that overhead back.
Yeah, we got a whole lot of overhead back. Yeah. And also, I think it's also a time though too where we're starting to see or companies are starting to see what you really need.
Yeah.
Right. You know, let's say like even when a lot of companies are transitioning to work from home, they're like, well, shit, we don't need to pay rent on this big ass building.
Need this building
because we don't need you here. We don't need to be giving you bagels every morning. You can get that at home, you know, whatever.
We don't have to pay for coffee.
No coffee. You can get that at home too. And they're taking a lot of that back. And I think that we're seeing a lot of that. And it's unfortunate because now, like I said, even in the day of degrees, you can have everything and you're still gonna get nothing because the landscape is changing. But then that goes full circle back around to the point of, even in this current situation, then why even still put a qualifier that you need? You ain't hiring nobody to begin with, so why even put the qualifier on there? Why even put it on there?
I understand what you're saying, man. I think in this day and age, you almost have to be as well-rounded as you can be, right? And whether that's having school under your belt, having a technical degree under your belt, having a trade under your belt, whatever it is, I think it's having the experience under your belt. I think just being as well-rounded as you can be is going to be important moving forward. And then, you know, if you have that idea, push it, man, because, you know, one of the things that I just kind of fell into is I was like, man, I don't want to ever be in a place where I leave my responsibility for my livelihood and my life in somebody else's hand to decide, you know, because that
don't want that.
Been there, done that, and I got the bruises to prove it, you know. And so, you know, is there, if you can't figure it out, if something's not working out today, is there something else that you can do that you've been thinking about, that you have over there in the binder, you know, that then you can begin to build towards that,
right?
You know, if you need to go back and get some schooling, can it be towards that? If you need to get a trade, can it be towards that? And really begin to push something that's going to make you a little more self-sufficient, because I think that's where we're going, man.
I love it. Educate yourself, people, in more ways than one.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go. Leave it as that right there.
Yeah. I'm ready to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it. I'm ready to do it. I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now. I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal.